Chira Oda definitely went the Togashi Kishimoto route, man. What I mean by that is after the feel good ending, you get hit in the gut with just the raw, epic, emotional stuff. And what I'm referring to is the dark ending to this chapter. Holy shit, I love chapters like this, okay? Like, to see how Nolan is just telling all of these feel good stories about his different voyages. Kind of like a Usopp tells these great stories about how the son of Broly pissed and the universe came into existence, okay? Like, just these outlandish stories, or at least in Nolan's case, they're actually true, and in Usopp's case, they're actually foretelling what's going to actually happen. Like that story he told Kaya about the big island of poop and what happened. A big island of poop and a goldfish. So just interesting how Oda's just kind of throwing that in there. And if you don't pay attention to it, you're not going to catch it. At least that's what I think. But I like how we see that and we see the kids are all gathered around, all beady eyed, like, oh my god, what story are you going to tell us today? Oh, that's pretty cool. So you mean to tell me that the daughter of Broly has a vagina so big that it caused the Big Bang effect? That is awesome. So, like, just hearing these stories, in particular, the story about the dwarves, I would have liked to actually see a flashback of that, just kind of brief, and just to see his exploits, man. Like, I almost felt like a little kid at that point, just seeing the different things. So that was cool. And what ends up happening is he's telling the truth. And there's like a little author note that even the people of the village, the grown-ups, they don't know whether or not these stories are true. And it's Oda's way of just kind of warning you, like, hey, don't get too comfortable. When you get too comfortable with these stories, I'm about to pull the rug out from underneath you. And right when he's telling the story to the king about the city of gold and Jaya, I go, oh shit, here it comes. Here it comes. This is what's happening. This is when he's getting executed. And the king has this shot where he's like super beady eyed and he's very thirsty at this point. He's like, Nolan, my good friend, I'm gonna make you an admiral. And not only that, I'm gonna give you a crew. So you have your regular crew. You'll have my crew as well. We're gonna travel the Grand Line. And Nolan's just like, oh, I'm an admiral. Holy shit, yes. Well, what ends up happening is they go on the Grand Line. Huge storm is happening, and when that storm's happening and the iceberg takes out some of the ships, I go, okay, this is when Jaya went up into the sky because he doesn't hear the bell, and he's saying somehow they have to get through the storm. And when they arrive on Jaya, that's when they find that half of the house is there, and just to see that and to see how he's being called a liar there, and then he's dragged back to his homeland and he's walking up the steps and he's about to be executed, and the king even goes as far as to have somebody lie and say, hey, I was there. He's lying. There is no Kagar. There is no city of gold. And everyone's chanting out, liar, 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 liar. And Nolan's men are trying to be the voice of reason. Like, that guy's not a part of our crew. Let us talk, Admiral, Admiral, Admiral. And just to see the desperation in that moment and how he isn't fighting back, and he's even staying true to his word to the very end, saying there was a city of gold, and he's come to grips with what happened. They end up beheading this dude, and that it just hits you right there, like, oh crap, Oda went there with it. I wasn't expecting to actually see the execution take place. Okay, it's kind of like with the Gold Roger stuff. I don't expect us to actually see it, and yet now that I've seen that, I feel like Oda is going to show us that later on. That'd be pretty damn cool. And once again, threes. I have my own theory for the ending of One Piece. I feel like Luffy is going to be on that executioner's block and executed. Very dark tone, but chapters like this show you that Oda is capable of writing some dark stuff, and main characters can die. Just say it for what it is. Main characters can die. It's not uncommon. It's happened in Shonen before. I know Luffy is a very beloved character, but can happen, and I'm seeing foreshadowing unless somebody pulls a plug on that at Shonen Jump. That's very possible. So moving on in the chapter, we actually see what happened a month before. A month. Just barely missed it. If they would have made the decision a little earlier, Nolan wouldn't have been executed, but they would have been in Skypiea at that point. So, what I thought was cool is we see how life has changed You know, Kagar is like, you know, Noland, whenever we meet again, you know, you'll see that my daughter and Seto, they're getting married. I'm going to be a father-in-law. Yeah. You know, so you got that, the crops growing well. Every day they go ring the bells. I mean, it's really cool. And like I said, it's a tragedy because we know how it's going to end. We know that it's going to have a horrible ending. And sure enough, that's when Jaya just gets, the part of Jaya that they're on gets ripped up into the sky. The vines are kind of going, and you see all people in Skypiea like, oh my God, there's an island. Do you hear that bell? That bell sounds so magnificent. And that's when you got this big heavy set dude, and he's just like, I'm the kami of this land. We're taking this shit. Now it's almost like Vikings, and it just shows once again how when you go into different areas, if you don't know the culture and everything, you could be doing something disrespectful. And sure enough, you know, that comedy is just like, and we know from Skypiea and just in this arc that anything that comes up from the sea, that they view it as, you know, religious treasure and all that. So just to see all of that and how they want the bell that they hear, and Kalgar and his people are fighting to protect it for the reasons that we know, and to see how those two beliefs clash. Very good writing. This is very good. This is very good. You know, whenever you're in doubt, you always just throw in a splice of conflict. But because everything is so well threaded and interwoven, and everything's funneling together, very good payoff to this. And it just, the way he ends the chapter, where you see Kalgar and his people fighting, it's just so appropriate. I feel like the flashback should end here because it's appropriate in that we know that Wiper's, not descendants, but ancestors, Kalgara's descendants, have constantly been in a fight with the different commies and with the people, and they're trying to reclaim the upper yard, just different things like that, knowing that there's this vicious cycle of fighting that's getting ready to take place, and that it all started from two groups of people who could not communicate, and so they're fighting. Very beautiful, very beautiful. And once again, it's what I've said in earlier videos, most wars could have been avoided if there would have been better communication. So my chapter question for you guys, I'm gonna have two. One I've asked before, which is, what do you think about my theory that Luffy might actually be executed or find himself on the executioner's block, and maybe Oda breaks the cycle. But again, it comes in threes, okay? So just throwing that out there. The second question I have for you guys is, what were your thoughts now that you know everything that goes on with the Shandian warriors when it comes to the different people of Skypiea? Who do you relate more to, or who do you feel the most empathy for? Do you feel more empathy for the Shandian warriors? Do you feel more empathy for the people of Skypiea? Or do you feel more empathy for the kami or whatever kami's in place at the time? But as always, guys, if you like anything I have to say, hit that like button, as it really helps the channel, helps the video get promoted by YouTube. Make sure you comment, rate, subscribe, share. Thank you for watching, guys. Have an awesome day.